We often think of masculinity and femininity as two separate, opposing forces, traits defined by our culture, society, and even biology. Yet at the core of our being, masculinity and femininity are not defined by gender. They are psychological energies within us all. These energies, though distinct, are not adversaries. They are complementary aspects of the same whole. The first step in understanding ourselves is to embrace the fact that we contain both masculine and feminine traits. This is not an abstract concept, but a lived reality. Every human being, regardless of gender, has access to both energies. The question is not whether we have them, but how we relate to them. Do we accept them, integrate them, or do we ignore, suppress, or reject one side in favor of the other? True balance comes not from denying any aspect of our nature, but from integrating both the masculine and feminine energies. Imagine a life where both the assertiveness of the masculine and the receptivity of the feminine coexist harmoniously within you. A life where logic is balanced by intuition and strength is tempered by sensitivity. It is when we integrate these opposing forces that we experience true inner peace and wholeness. There are guiding forces within us, what we might call the Anima and the Animus. The Anima, the inner feminine, influences our feelings, our creativity, and our capacity for empathy. The Animus, the inner masculine, drives our action, our clarity of thought, and our willpower. These inner figures are not static. They evolve with us. They act as guides on our journey, pushing us toward growth and self-discovery. By recognizing and understanding them, we unlock a deeper connection to our own authenticity. But this process requires consciousness. The energies of the masculine and feminine are not merely something we have, but something we must consciously engage with. Masculinity in its true form is not simply forcefulness or dominance. It is clarity, direction, and the courage to assert oneself. Femininity is not passivity, but a deep, nurturing receptivity, a gentle power that invites connection, understanding, and healing. We must learn to live these qualities with awareness, allowing them to inform our actions and interactions. Yet there is a shadow side to these energies, the parts of ourselves that we push into the unconscious. The masculine side might become aggressive, controlling, or emotionally distant when left unchecked, while the feminine side may become overly passive, manipulative, or self-sacrificing. These shadows are not our enemies, but signals, parts of ourselves that we have yet to embrace. To achieve balance, we must bring them to light, accept them, and integrate them into our conscious lives. Only then can we transcend their power over us. Lastly, we must understand that masculinity and femininity are not rigid, external roles imposed by society. We live in a world that often dictates what it means to be a man or a woman, but true balance comes when we see beyond these external expectations. When we move beyond gender stereotypes and access the full spectrum of human potential, we step into a space of authenticity. We live a life that is uniquely our own, where the masculine and feminine energies flow freely and in harmony. So, I invite you to explore both your masculine and feminine sides. Don't merely accept them, but embrace them. Recognize their unique gifts, confront their shadows, and allow them to dance together within you. It is in this dance that you will find the deep, transformative power of balance. Every individual possesses both masculine and feminine energies, regardless of their gender or external expression. These energies are not defined by societal roles, expectations, or physical characteristics, but are archetypal forces that shape our psychological and emotional experiences. The first step in embracing the full complexity of the human condition is to acknowledge that both masculine and feminine energies reside within each of us. These forces are not isolated or in opposition to one another. Rather, they are deeply interwoven and complementary. The concept of inner duality is rooted in the idea that our personalities and behaviors are influenced by a combination of these seemingly opposite forces. The masculine energy is often associated with traits like action, logic, strength, and assertiveness, while the feminine energy is more connected with qualities such as intuition, empathy, receptivity, and nurturing. These energies, however, are not fixed in any particular gender. While societal constructs often frame masculinity and femininity in rigid ways, often associating masculinity with men and femininity with women, The truth is that everyone carries both energies within them. In fact, there is no true wholeness without the acknowledgement of both sides. At its core, the concept of balancing masculine and feminine energies is about understanding that both are essential for psychological and emotional well-being. A life fully lived requires the integration of both energies, allowing each one to manifest in appropriate moments and balance each other in the ongoing dance of life. When we suppress or reject one side of ourselves in favor of the other, we create imbalance, fragmentation, and even dysfunction. Fragmentation and even dysfunction. For example, when someone overemphasizes their masculine traits, such as being excessively driven, competitive, or focused on achievement, they may find themselves disconnected from their emotional world or unable to nurture their relationships. On the other hand, an overemphasis on the feminine energy, such as being overly passive, overly emotional, or self-sacrificial, can lead to a lack of direction or personal empowerment. The truth is that the masculine and feminine energies are not mutually exclusive or contradictory, but are in fact two halves of a greater whole. It is through the integration of both energies that we experience psychological health and depth. The masculine force brings clarity and direction, while the feminine energy fosters compassion, intuition, and connection. These energies can work together to create a harmonious and balanced self, but they must first be recognized and allowed to manifest freely. This recognition requires a shift in perspective, a willingness to embrace the parts of ourselves that have been neglected or misunderstood, and to understand how both energies serve us in our pursuit of authenticity. This inner duality is also reflected in the way we interact with others and the world around us. Our relationships, our work, and our creativity are all influenced by the balance or imbalance of these energies within us. For example, in relationships, we may be drawn to people who embody qualities that we lack, and thus we seek to balance our own energies by engaging with those whose energies complement our own. A person who feels disconnected from their feminine side might gravitate toward relationships with individuals who embody qualities such as emotional openness or nurturing behaviors. Similarly, someone who feels disconnected from their masculine side might be drawn to individuals who exude confidence, direction, and decisiveness. In these dynamics, we see that the masculine and feminine energies are not isolated to one person, but can manifest in complementary ways through our connections with others. The first step toward integrating these energies is simply to recognize them. We must learn to identify when the masculine and feminine forces are present within us and how they influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This requires self-awareness and reflection. In moments of stress, for example, we may notice ourselves becoming excessively rational, over-focused on problem-solving, and disconnected from our feelings. This is a sign that our masculine energy may be dominating our psyche at that moment, and we might need to pause, reflect, and reconnect with our intuitive, nurturing feminine side. On the flip side, we may find ourselves becoming passive, overly emotional, or feeling powerless when we neglect our inner masculine energy. Recognizing these patterns gives us the power to shift our behaviors and thoughts, bringing us into greater harmony with both sides of our being. Moreover, embracing our inner duality invites us to challenge and transcend the traditional gender roles that often restrict our understanding of masculinity and femininity. We live in a world that often imposes narrow definitions of what it means to be masculine or feminine. Men are taught to be strong, assertive, and competitive, while women are taught to be nurturing, emotional, and passive. These societal expectations limit our potential, forcing us into rigid boxes that do not account for the complexity of our true nature. To truly embrace our inner duality, we must transcend these limiting beliefs and redefine masculinity and femininity on our own terms. This means understanding that the traits associated with masculinity, strength, logic, assertiveness, are not inherently male, just as the qualities of femininity, intuition, empathy, nurturing, are not inherently female. We all have access to these energies, and we must learn to embrace and express them without shame or fear of judgment. The journey toward personal growth and inner harmony is not a matter of simply acknowledging the existence of both masculine and feminine energies within us. True balance comes when we integrate these energies consciously, rather than suppressing or rejecting one side in favor of the other. Human nature is complex, and the energies that reside within us are not meant to be in conflict. They are meant to work together to create a more whole, authentic self. Suppression of one side, whether intentional or unintentional, leads to a fractured sense of self that can manifest in internal turmoil, discontent, and a lack of fulfillment. Integration, on the other hand, is the path to wholeness and self-empowerment. In our lives, we often encounter societal pressures and personal biases that encourage us to suppress certain qualities based on gender, cultural expectations, or fear of vulnerability. Men, for example, are often socialized to embody the masculine traits of strength, decisiveness, and assertiveness, while women are encouraged to develop the feminine qualities of nurturing, empathy, and emotional expression. These cultural roles may lead individuals to reject or diminish aspects of their personalities that do not fit into these prescribed molds. For men, the expression of emotions, vulnerability, and nurturing behavior may be seen as weaknesses, pushing them to suppress their feminine energy. Women, conversely, may feel pressured to suppress their assertiveness or independence, traits often associated with masculinity, in order to conform to traditional feminine roles that emphasize passivity, caregiving, and emotional sensitivity. When we deny one side of our energy, whether the masculine or the feminine, we inadvertently limit our potential and create an imbalance that can hinder our personal development. Repressing emotions, for example, is one of the most common ways that the masculine energy can be overemphasized at the expense of the feminine. Many individuals who suppress their emotional vulnerability and intuition may find that they become disconnected from their deeper feelings and needs. This can lead to stress, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness, as they are unable to express or process the emotions that arise within them. It is through the feminine qualities of receptivity, empathy, and emotional expression that we are able to process our feelings, connect with others on a deeper level, and gain insight into our own inner worlds. Conversely, an overemphasis on the feminine qualities of receptivity and emotional expression, while valuable, can leave an individual feeling passive or disconnected from their sense of agency. The feminine energy is about nurturing, connecting, and supporting, but it must be tempered by the masculine qualities of action, decisiveness, and clarity in order to be effective. Without the guidance of the masculine, the feminine energy can become overly passive or self-sacrificial, leading to a lack of direction, indecisiveness, or an inability to assert one's needs in relationships or life decisions. Similarly, individuals who rely solely on their masculine energy may find themselves caught in cycles of rigid thinking, excessive productivity, and burnout, disconnected from their inner wisdom and intuition. To live authentically, we must recognize that both energies, masculine and feminine, are needed to create a harmonious and well-rounded self. It is not enough to simply acknowledge these aspects. We must actively integrate them into our lives and behaviors. This requires conscious effort and introspection, as we must observe how these energies manifest in our thoughts, actions, and relationships, and identify areas where we may be suppressing one energy or the other. For instance, we may notice that in times of conflict, we default to more aggressive, defensive, or controlling behavior, traits associated with the overactive masculine energy. In these moments, we might consciously choose to soften our approach, listen more attentively, and seek out collaborative solutions, allowing our feminine energy to guide us. Conversely, we may find ourselves feeling overwhelmed by emotions in situations that require clear thinking and decisiveness. By engaging the masculine energy of logic and structure, we can find the clarity and direction we need to navigate difficult decisions. The integration of both energies also involves embracing the natural rhythms of life, where sometimes one energy may take the lead, and at other times the other energy may be more dominant. In relationships, for example, a dynamic of mutual respect and understanding emerges when both the masculine and feminine aspects are allowed to take turns guiding the interaction. There may be moments when the masculine energy of protection, strength, and direction is needed, but also moments when the feminine energy of listening, nurturing, and emotional support is more appropriate. By honoring these rhythms and allowing ourselves to flow between these energies, we cultivate more meaningful and fulfilling connections with others. Moreover, integration involves recognizing the value and importance of both energies in our own development. The masculine energy is often linked with qualities such as purpose, achievement, and self-discipline, which are essential for personal growth and success. However, without the balancing influence of the feminine energy, qualities like creativity, intuition, and emotional intelligence, our drive for achievement can lead to burnout or a lack of fulfillment. Similarly, the feminine energy is associated with the nurturing and creative aspects of the psyche, but when disconnected from the structure, clarity, and action that the masculine energy provides, it can become stagnant or overly passive. Integration is therefore a dynamic process that requires us to continuously evaluate how these energies are functioning in our lives and make adjustments where needed. In essence, integration is not about creating a perfect balance between the masculine and feminine, but rather about cultivating a relationship between them that is fluid and adaptive. It involves a conscious effort to express both sides in healthy, constructive ways, allowing them to inform and enhance each other. The masculine energy teaches us how to take action, set goals, and assert ourselves, while the feminine energy reminds us to connect, reflect, and nurture both ourselves and others. By actively integrating both energies, we can step into our full potential, living a life that is authentic, dynamic, and deeply fulfilling. It is this balance, this dance between the masculine and feminine, that ultimately leads us to greater self-awareness, emotional depth, and personal power. Within the depths of our unconscious lies the Anima and the Animus, two figures that represent the feminine and masculine aspects of our psyche, respectively. These figures are not merely psychological constructs, but powerful archetypal forces that shape how we view ourselves, others, and the world. The Anima, the inner feminine figure, exists within the male psyche. These archetypes are more than just representations of gender. They are essential components of our internal world that influence everything from our emotional responses to how we interact in relationships, and even how we express creativity and purpose in life. Understanding and engaging with these inner figures is an integral part of achieving psychological wholeness and balance. The Anima, which represents the feminine principle in men, plays a crucial role in shaping emotional depth and intuition, while the masculine energy typically gravitates toward logical thinking, action, and structure. The Anima invites the individual to explore the more intangible aspects of life, such as feelings, intuition, and connection to the unconscious. The Anima's role is to offer men a deeper connection to their emotional life and to provide access to qualities that are often regarded as more feminine, such as receptivity, sensitivity, and empathy. When a man's relationship with his Anima is unacknowledged or suppressed, he may struggle with emotional expression, leading to a disconnect from his own feelings and a lack of meaningful emotional intimacy in his relationships. This repression of the Anima can manifest as a form of emotional rigidity or a constant reliance on the masculine energies of logic and rationality, even in situations where emotional insight or intuitive understanding is needed. The Anima has a transformative power, and its expression can evolve over the course of a man's life. In the early stages, the Anima might be experienced in more idealized or romantic forms, such as the mother or a beloved partner. However, as a man matures and gains more self-awareness, his relationship with the Anima deepens. The Anima may shift from a projection onto external figures to a more internalized, integrated force that shapes his understanding of self and others. This process is essential for men who wish to access their full emotional and creative potential. The Anima guides them to develop a deeper connection to their feelings, intuition, and unconscious desires, encouraging them to explore the realms of spirituality, creativity, and relational depth. On the other side of the spectrum lies the Animus, which represents the masculine principle within women. The Animus manifests as the inner source of strength, logic, decisiveness, and purpose. It empowers women to act assertively, establish clear goals, and take charge of their lives. The Animus offers a woman access to her drive, her intellect, and her ability to set boundaries and take action in the world. However, like the Anima, the Animus is not a fixed or static figure. It evolves over time, and its influence can be both empowering and challenging, depending on how it is engaged with and integrated. In the early stages of a woman's life, the Animus might appear as an external authority figure, perhaps a father, teacher, or partner, who represents masculine qualities such as logic, authority, and direction. However, as a woman matures, she is called upon to internalize the animus, moving beyond mere external projections to develop her own inner source of strength and decisiveness. When a woman fails to recognize and integrate her animus, she may become overly passive or reliant on others for direction and purpose. She might feel disconnected from her own sense of agency or struggle with the idea of asserting herself in the world. Conversely, if the animus is allowed to dominate too much, a woman may develop a more rigid, overbearing persona that values logic and control at the expense of emotional richness and receptivity. Just as the anima offers men access to their inner world of emotion, intuition, and empathy, the animus offers women a pathway to assertiveness, intellectual clarity, and a sense of personal empowerment. To achieve balance, women must engage with their animus, developing the confidence to assert their will, trust in their intellect, and take action when necessary. This engagement does not mean abandoning the feminine qualities of receptivity, empathy, or nurturing, but instead allows women to express these qualities alongside their capacity for strength, decisiveness, and leadership. The integration of the animus is crucial for women who wish to experience full psychological empowerment and to break free from societal constraints that limit their sense of self and potential. Both the anima and animus are essential for personal growth because they provide access to the opposite energy within us. For men, the anima is the gateway to emotional intelligence, creativity, and connection. For women, the animus is the key to strength, autonomy, and intellectual clarity. However, these figures are not always easy to access or integrate. Society often teaches men to suppress the more feminine aspects of themselves and encourages women to subdue their masculine qualities in favor of being more passive or nurturing. This cultural conditioning can cause individuals to overlook or deny the presence of these inner figures, leading to a fragmentation of the psyche and a disconnection from their full potential. One of the most important aspects of integrating the anima and animus is recognizing the projections we place onto others. Often, the anima and animus are not fully acknowledged within ourselves and are projected outward onto external figures. Men might idealize or place women on pedestals, attributing to them qualities that they themselves are not fully embracing. Similarly, women might project the qualities of the animus onto men, looking for direction, strength, or purpose outside themselves. The process of integration involves bringing these projections back inward, recognizing that the anima and animus reside within and are not separate from us. By doing so, we begin the journey of self-empowerment and inner wholeness. Ultimately, the anima and animus are not just concepts or archetypes. They are living forces that shape our psychological development. By acknowledging and integrating these inner figures, we open ourselves to a more balanced and fulfilling existence. Men and women alike are called to engage with these energies, allowing them to evolve and guide us toward greater self-awareness, emotional depth, and personal empowerment. The process of doing so is both a challenging and transformative journey, one that leads to a richer, more authentic experience of life and self. Living consciously with both our masculine and feminine energies is not merely a theoretical pursuit, but an active, ongoing process of engaging these energies in every aspect of our lives. The key to achieving balance is not to passively accept these energies as part of who we are, but to actively embody them in ways that are meaningful, purposeful, and authentic. It is only through conscious awareness and deliberate action that we can harmonize these opposing forces within us, allowing them to guide us in a way that fosters personal growth, deepens our relationships, and empowers us to navigate the challenges of life. The masculine energy is often associated with traits such as rationality, logic, assertiveness, and action. These qualities help us set goals, pursue objectives, and establish a sense of direction and purpose in our lives. The masculine aspect of ourselves drives us to take initiative, to make decisions, and to act decisively in the face of challenges. It is the force within us that pushes us forward, propelling us toward progress and achievement. However, it is crucial to understand that the masculine energy is not inherently about dominance or control, as it is often portrayed in traditional societal models, but is more about clarity, focus, and the ability to take structured, purposeful action. When we embody this energy consciously, we can direct our efforts in meaningful ways, creating a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment that is aligned with our core values and purpose. On the other hand, the feminine energy is often linked with qualities such as intuition, empathy, creativity, and receptivity. The feminine aspect of ourselves invites us to slow down, to listen deeply to our emotions, to connect with others on a heart-centered level, and to trust in the wisdom that arises from within. The feminine energy is nurturing, collaborative, and relational. It is about connecting, understanding, and supporting the people and experiences around us. When we embrace this energy consciously, we are able to cultivate deeper emotional connections with ourselves and others, foster creativity, and engage with life in a more fluid, organic way. The feminine energy allows us to be present in the moment, to listen to our inner voice, and to honor our feelings and instincts as valid sources of guidance. To live consciously with both of these energies means recognizing when each energy is needed and allowing it to guide us in the appropriate context. For instance, in a moment of crisis or uncertainty, the masculine energy may take the lead, helping us to stay focused, make decisions, and take the necessary steps to navigate through the challenge. This does not mean abandoning the feminine energy, but rather allowing the masculine to bring clarity and direction in the face of difficulty. In more relational or creative contexts, the feminine energy may come forward, inviting us to listen, to nurture, and to express our emotions with authenticity and vulnerability. In relationships, this balance becomes especially important. At times, we need to assert ourselves, set boundaries, and take decisive action, but at other times, we need to listen deeply, offer support, and engage with empathy and care. However, living consciously with these energies also requires a level of self-awareness and mindfulness. It is not always easy to discern when one energy is more appropriate than the other, and the line between healthy expression and overexpression can often be blurry. For example, when the masculine energy becomes overly dominant, it can lead to rigidity, an overemphasis on control, and a lack of emotional connection. On the other hand, when the feminine energy becomes overly dominant, it can result in passivity, indecisiveness, and a tendency to sacrifice one's own needs in favor of others. Conscious living requires us to constantly monitor and adjust our behaviors, ensuring that neither energy is neglected or exaggerated, and that both are given room to express themselves in balanced ways. This balance is not static but dynamic. There will be times in life when one energy needs to take precedence over the other, depending on the circumstances, and it is our ability to recognize this shift that enables us to respond to life's challenges with greater fluidity. In the workplace, for example, the masculine energy may be more prominent when we are taking charge of a project, making decisions, and directing others. Yet, in personal relationships or creative endeavors, the feminine energy may emerge more strongly, guiding us to collaborate, listen, and approach situations with openness and emotional intelligence. The key is to be attuned to when each energy is needed, without rigidly adhering to one or the other. In order to achieve a greater sense of balance, it is also essential to work with the natural ebb and flow of life. There will be moments when we feel called to take action and assert ourselves, and other times when we must surrender to the moment, listen carefully, and allow things to unfold without forcing them. Life is full of rhythms, cycles, and seasons, and the ability to move fluidly between these energies allows us to remain aligned with the natural flow of existence. For example, during times of rest and rejuvenation, it may be more appropriate to engage with the feminine energy, fostering creativity, connection, and reflection. During times of productivity and achievement, the masculine energy may come to the forefront, helping us to stay focused, determined, and goal-oriented. The integration of both energies allows us to move through these cycles with grace, without feeling fragmented or disconnected from ourselves. Furthermore, living consciously with the masculine and feminine energies requires us to break free from societal conditioning and gendered expectations. Traditional views often create restrictive roles that limit the full expression of these energies. For instance, men may be encouraged to suppress their emotional or intuitive side, while women may be taught to subordinate their strength or assertiveness. By acknowledging that both energies are integral to our wholeness, we free ourselves from these limiting constructs and allow ourselves to embody both the masculine and feminine qualities in ways that feel authentic to who we are as individuals, regardless of gender. We begin to see that strength does not only reside in action, but in the quiet power of receptivity, and that nurturing does not only involve care and compassion, but also the ability to assert boundaries and stand firm in one's truth. Living consciously with the masculine and feminine energies is a lifelong process of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-expression. It is about allowing both energies to inform and enrich our lives, guiding us toward greater self-awareness, deeper connection, and a fuller experience of what it means to be human. By embracing this balance, we unlock the full potential of our being, becoming more resilient, creative, compassionate, and empowered in every aspect of our lives. It is through this conscious living that we can cultivate a profound sense of harmony within ourselves and in our relationships with the world. In the pursuit of inner balance, we often overlook the significance of the unconscious mind and the deep archetypal forces that shape our experiences. The process of integrating the masculine and feminine energies within us requires not only conscious effort, but also a deep engagement with the unconscious aspects of our psyche. These unconscious forces, such as archetypes and shadow elements, play a crucial role in how we express our masculinity and femininity, and they are often the key to unlocking the full potential of both energies. The unconscious mind, while often hidden from direct awareness, is an immensely powerful force that shapes our perceptions, behaviors, and responses to the world around us. The unconscious is home to the parts of ourselves that we are either unaware of or choose to suppress. These parts are not inherently negative or harmful, but they represent aspects of ourselves that are either underdeveloped or misaligned with our conscious values. In order to fully integrate both the masculine and feminine energies within us, we must dive into the unconscious and confront the aspects of our psyche that we may have overlooked or rejected. This engagement allows us to bring those hidden parts into awareness and establish a more harmonious relationship with them, ultimately leading to a deeper sense of self-understanding and growth. The concept of the shadow is particularly important when discussing the unconscious mind in the context of masculine and feminine energies. The shadow consists of the repressed, denied, or disowned aspects of our personality, including both positive and negative qualities that we might not fully accept or recognize in ourselves. For example, a man might have a shadow that contains his suppressed sensitivity, emotional vulnerability, or nurturing qualities, aspects of the feminine that he may have learned to disown in order to conform to societal expectations of masculinity. Conversely, a woman might suppress her assertiveness, independence, or rationality, qualities that are often associated with the masculine, in order to fit into traditional feminine roles. The process of integrating the shadow involves acknowledging and embracing these repressed qualities, allowing them to become part of our conscious awareness. The journey of integrating the masculine and feminine energies cannot be completed without engaging with these shadow aspects. For instance, when a person suppresses their feminine side, they may develop an unconscious aversion to vulnerability, emotional expression, or intuition, which can manifest in an overemphasis on logic, control, or achievement. Likewise, if someone rejects their masculine energy, they may struggle with setting boundaries, asserting themselves, or taking decisive action. These suppressed aspects will often manifest in distorted ways, such as in projections onto others. A man who has repressed his feminine energy may project it onto a partner or caregiver, expecting them to embody qualities of nurturing or empathy that he has denied in himself. Similarly, a woman who suppresses her masculine qualities might find herself attracted to domineering or controlling partners, projecting her unacknowledged need for strength or assertiveness onto them. The process of individuation, a concept introduced by Carl Jung, is central to understanding how we can integrate these unconscious aspects of the self. Individuation is the process of becoming one's true, authentic self by integrating both the conscious and unconscious elements of the psyche. It is through individuation that we begin to recognize the existence of the Anima and Animus, the inner masculine and feminine energies, and consciously work to integrate them into our lives. The Anima and Animus are not external forces, but are reflections of our own unconscious archetypes that guide us toward wholeness, As we engage with these energies, we begin to transform our relationship with ourselves and the world, embracing the fullness of our being. This process of integration involves not just intellectual understanding, but emotional and experiential work. The unconscious mind communicates with us through dreams, symbols, and deep emotional responses. By paying attention to these subtle messages, we can gain insight into how the masculine and feminine energies are expressed or repressed within us. For example, a recurring dream about being overwhelmed by a powerful, nurturing figure might indicate that a man is suppressing his connection to his feminine side. Similarly, a woman who dreams of taking charge in an assertive or competitive situation might be encountering her unintegrated masculine energy, signaling a need to embrace her own strength and autonomy. Through this deep, unconscious engagement, we begin to see the interplay between the masculine and feminine energies in a new light. They are not static forces, but dynamic, living energies that evolve over time. As we integrate them, we move beyond the societal constructs of what it means to be masculine or feminine and develop a more nuanced, individualized understanding of these energies. We begin to realize that the masculine is not simply about dominance and control, but about structure, purpose, and clarity. The feminine is not merely about nurturing and receptivity, but also about creativity, intuition, and emotional depth. By acknowledging and integrating these qualities, we create a more fluid and balanced experience of selfhood. Furthermore, engaging with the unconscious allows us to dismantle the false dichotomies that often arise when we think about the masculine and feminine. We live in a culture that often frames these energies as opposites, with the masculine defined as strong, independent, and rational, and the feminine as nurturing, emotional, and passive. These distinctions can create internal conflict, especially when we attempt to fit ourselves into one rigid category or the other. However, the unconscious reveals to us that the masculine and feminine are not mutually exclusive. They are complementary forces that can coexist within the same individual. It is through this integration that we transcend the limitations of gendered expectations and begin to express ourselves in ways that are more authentic, fluid, and inclusive of all our inner aspects. By delving into the unconscious, we also gain access to deeper layers of creativity and self-expression. The feminine energy is often associated with creativity and intuition, yet the masculine energy also plays a critical role in bringing those creative impulses into manifestation. The ability to create, whether in art, relationships, or career, is a synthesis of both masculine and feminine energies, each contributing its own strengths. The masculine provides the structure, discipline, and action needed to bring creative ideas to fruition, while the feminine nurtures the creative vision, infuses it with emotional depth, and allows it to flow freely. When both energies are in harmony, we are able to express ourselves fully and authentically, both in our personal lives and in the world. In the process of integrating the masculine and feminine energies within ourselves, one of the most significant challenges lies in overcoming the societal conditioning that often forces us into rigid gender-based roles. From a young age, we are taught specific ways to behave, think, and express ourselves based on our gender. These expectations often dictate what qualities are deemed acceptable or desirable, leading many of us to suppress certain aspects of our personality. Men are encouraged to be strong, assertive, and independent, while women are often expected to be nurturing, cooperative, and emotionally expressive. These culturally constructed roles can create a division between our authentic selves and the roles we are expected to perform, leading to internal conflict and a lack of balance between our masculine and feminine energies. Breaking free from these societal expectations requires a conscious effort to redefine our understanding of what it means to be both masculine and feminine. It is essential to recognize that both energies exist within all people, regardless of gender, and that we are not confined to the roles that society imposes upon us. The masculine energy, which is often associated with action, logic, and assertiveness, does not belong solely to men, nor does the feminine energy, associated with intuition, empathy, and receptivity, belong solely to women. These energies are universal, and we all have access to them. To live in harmony with both energies, we must first reject the notion that one is superior to the other, and that one is meant to dominate over the other. This means challenging the traditional ideas that have been instilled in us about gender roles. For men, it may involve breaking free from the pressure to suppress emotional vulnerability or to always be in control. It may require them to allow their emotional and sensitive sides to emerge, giving themselves permission to express vulnerability, seek help when needed, and embrace qualities such as empathy, compassion, and intuition. For women, it may involve letting go of the societal pressure to be passive or self-sacrificing, and instead embracing strength, independence, and assertiveness. Women may need to claim their right to set boundaries, speak their truth, and take decisive action in their lives, without feeling guilty or ashamed for doing so. By rejecting these outdated roles, we open ourselves up to a more authentic expression of who we are, allowing both our masculine and feminine energies to coexist and complement each other. This process of reclaiming the full spectrum of our humanity involves challenging internalized beliefs about gender, which can often be deeply ingrained and unconscious. For example, a man who has internalized the belief that showing emotion is a sign of weakness may struggle with allowing his emotional vulnerability to surface. Similarly, a woman who has been taught to prioritize others' needs over her own may have difficulty asserting herself or pursuing her own goals. These internalized beliefs are the result of a long history of cultural conditioning, and they can create barriers to personal growth and self-expression. Releasing these limiting beliefs requires a willingness to explore and confront the ways in which societal expectations have shaped our identity. This can be a difficult and uncomfortable process, as it involves questioning long-held assumptions about what it means to be a man or a woman in the world. However, this exploration is essential for personal transformation. By allowing ourselves to break free from these constraints, we begin to experience a greater sense of freedom and empowerment. We no longer feel bound by societal norms or limited by the roles that have been assigned to us. Instead, we are free to express our true selves and embrace the full range of qualities that are available to us. A key aspect of this journey is the practice of self-compassion. We must be kind and patient with ourselves as we navigate the process of shedding these societal expectations. This involves acknowledging that the conditioning we have experienced is not our fault, and that it takes time and effort to unlearn deeply ingrained patterns of behavior. Self-compassion allows us to let go of judgment and guilt, creating a safe space for us to explore new ways of being. It also helps us to embrace both our masculine and feminine qualities, without fear of rejection or shame. Rather than seeing these energies as opposing forces, we begin to view them as complementary aspects of our whole selves, each offering unique strengths and capabilities. As we work to release societal conditioning, it is also important to engage in conscious practices that help us embody our true selves. This might include journaling, meditation, or engaging in creative activities that allow us to express both our masculine and feminine qualities. For example, a man might explore artistic expression, such as painting or writing, to connect with his emotional and intuitive side. A woman might practice assertiveness through setting boundaries, speaking up in challenging situations, or pursuing goals with confidence. These practices help to integrate the energies in ways that are authentic and empowering, reinforcing the idea that both masculinity and femininity are essential parts of who we are. Equally important is the role of relationships in this process. The way we interact with others can either reinforce or challenge the gender roles that we have internalized. In relationships, both romantic and platonic, we have the opportunity to practice embracing the full spectrum of our energies. A man in a relationship might work to express both his strength and his vulnerability, allowing himself to be open, emotional, and supportive, while also maintaining a sense of direction and leadership. A woman, on the other hand, might practice being both nurturing and assertive, offering care and empathy while also standing firm in her values and boundaries. Relationships provide a powerful mirror through which we can see where we are still holding on to limiting beliefs about gender, and they offer the opportunity to practice new ways of being. In the broader societal context, breaking free from gendered expectations requires a collective shift in mindset. We need to move away from the rigid, binary understanding of gender and toward a more inclusive and fluid perspective that honors the full range of human experience. This shift involves recognizing that everyone, regardless of gender, has the capacity to embody both masculine and feminine qualities, and that these qualities should be celebrated rather than suppressed. It is through this cultural transformation that we can create a society where individuals are free to express themselves authentically, without fear of judgment or marginalization. Ultimately, the process of overcoming societal conditioning and embracing both masculine and feminine energies is a deeply personal and transformative journey. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to challenge the norms and expectations that have shaped us. By doing so, we not only empower ourselves, but also contribute to a more balanced, inclusive, and authentic world. When we live in harmony with both our masculine and feminine sides, we unlock the full potential of who we are, creating a life that is rich in creativity, connection, and personal fulfillment. This journey is not about choosing one energy over the other, but about integrating both energies in ways that allow us to experience the fullness of our humanity. In conclusion, the journey of balancing the masculine and feminine energies within us is both profound and transformative. It requires us to go beyond the traditional, often limiting perceptions of gender, and instead embrace the full spectrum of our human potential. By recognizing that both energies, whether they manifest as strength, assertiveness and logic, or empathy, intuition and receptivity, are not inherently opposed, but are complementary forces, we can begin to live more holistically. This integration is not about conforming to societal expectations or playing specific roles dictated by gender. It is about shedding these constraints, acknowledging the power of both energies, and consciously choosing to embody them in ways that align with our true selves. Through self-awareness and active engagement with our unconscious mind, we uncover the archetypal forces that influence our actions and beliefs. By embracing these unconscious elements, including confronting our shadow and integrating both the masculine and feminine archetypes, we can reach a deeper understanding of ourselves and create a balanced, authentic life. Moreover, it is through releasing societal conditioning that we free ourselves from outdated roles and create space for a more empowered, fluid expression of who we truly are. This journey is not only personal but cultural. When we collectively acknowledge the value of both masculine and feminine energies in all individuals, we contribute to a more inclusive and harmonious world. Ultimately, by living consciously with our masculine and feminine energies, we gain the power to navigate life with clarity, creativity, emotional depth, and resilience. This balance allows us to respond to challenges with both strength and compassion, to build relationships that are rooted in authenticity, and to foster growth in every area of our lives. It is through embracing this wholeness, with all its complexities, that we step into our most empowered, connected, and fulfilled selves, experiencing the fullness of our humanity. The journey of balance is lifelong, but it is also incredibly rewarding, a path that leads us to a deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us.